There we go. Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And I am doing, let me turn the volume up here, a book review, two book reviews. So, and I chose two book reviews because one of the books is really kind of short and I'm not going to have a lot to say about it. So I also have a fiction book to talk about, which I have a lot to say about that book. So let me get into it. Nobody's quite here yet, so I want to replay this. It'll make sense. I don't like to hold too much time waiting for somebody to show up. And I'm also new to posting on Fridays. So Fridays, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm in Arizona. We don't do time change, but twice a year when the time change does happen, I have to be very mindful that everybody else is doing it. But now we are on Mountain Time, if that makes any sense. But I want to talk about this book, 2023 Grimoire of the Black Witch by Ayalusa Osunyemi Akalatunde. Okay, so hey Gemstones. This is the first book that it's kind of pretty short. I just picked this book up. I got it off of Amazon. Links are in the description for the books I'm talking about here. Okay. The message, the spells in the book is empowering. I think they can be powerful. Full stop on that. The message, the spells, the rituals are they would be, I could see how they would work and they would be powerful. 100%. No problem. What was distracting was the typos. I'm not a, I don't say this to be spiteful or mean. It was distracting for me having all those typos. And it starts in the beginning of the book. So there was that. I felt like some of the information as I tried to read it also was repetitive. Like there's a whole, like when you first opened it up and I start reading just what the introductory pages, like page 1. And then I went on to the next page and I felt like I was reading the exact same thing, like verbatim. Like the same words. It was just repeated. I didn't understand that. So that wasn't a great thing. There was some well thought out information here that I do appreciate. I will tell you this. Some of these rituals might be great for me because almost everything had a water element. Like she was using all the different elements when giving a spell. And I think for me, I could use the water, because I'm doing a lot of stuff with water. So anyway, the point is, I could see how I could maybe use some of this, and it could be helpful maybe to me, probably turning it into something else. And there were great prompts to ask yourself questions. And if you notice from my tone, I'm trying to be generous about what is good. The typos threw me, the font choice threw me, the format kind of threw me off. I don't know if this is meant to be used in conjunction with her courses, and then that might make more sense because it's like kind of like the information. Maybe if you have the course, there's more that comes with it. So I'm gonna reserve for that. That maybe it says it's a self-help workbook. And I think the part for me is I didn't realize it was a workbook. I may not have did a good job at reading the description. I think I was just confused about what I was going to be getting with this. I thought it would be thicker. I thought there was more, I don't know. I thought it was something else. I don't know. Because no one has told me that, and this might just have been in my head. However, with all that being said, there are powerful rituals in this book that I will not deny. It's just, I think my anticipation to receiving this book, I just feel like a little let down because I thought it was more, and maybe that's me, but I think this might go I could be wrong if you know about, she's a YouTuber, by the way, the person that wrote this book, and I admire her and I adore her. I love her. She's someone I listen to. I watch her videos and I am completely inspired almost every video, and I feel like I'm like listening to her like it's a lecture course. I believe she's like a PhD, working on her PhD. Like, this is a very educated person who wrote this. And I just wonder, like, it was the typos and the repetitiveness and the formatting and spacing. And I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe it's just all like self-published, which I'm intention is to be self-published, but I don't know. That's why I said, well, maybe this goes with something else. But interestingly enough, I got an email, or I saw the email this morning, where she is coming out with something like this for 2024, but she says she's doing a V book. So it's a totally different format where it's going to be videos and more visuals, and then like a printable workbook. And I thought that was a pretty good idea. That's something I honestly I'm working on. Is it self-published? Because it probably needs an editor. Yeah, it is self-published, and I do think it might have needed an editor. I love the cover though. I love this cover. I think it's like the image, like I love that. But yeah, I believe that she I don't know this for sure, but I'm thinking it was self-published. Let me see if I see. There's not like a copyright page or anything in this book, so I'm thinking, yeah. But you know what? I love her. I can't wait to see the next format that she's going to do, because the knowledge was here, the information was here. I will take it a step further and say this. I could see how this could be very helpful for a woman who is getting out of what she refers to as being a mule in relationships, at work, to the world, like constantly being in a place of I'm in service. I thought about that a lot, because I realized that growing up, specifically going to church, I used to hear that I just want to be of service to the Lord, like of service. And even as a young girl, something about that did not sit right with me. I just didn't. I also, when I was younger, didn't like the word humble. Being of service and humble, those things used to like feel like somebody was poking me whenever somebody said it. I wouldn't be able to explain to you. And this is young girl and young woman hearing that those words bothered me. You know, reading her book, she gave words to why it bothered me. And because I know that's not my rightful place. I am not born to be humble. Are there moments where you need to be humble? Like, what is humble? What is humble? What does that even mean? Like, in most cases, to me, it's like, I think people have ideas what they would like for it to mean, but I think it has everything to do with, usually if someone is demanding or complaining that someone is not humble, they want you to kind of make yourself smaller, to reduce yourself or put yourself on a place where they feel like you're not over them. To require, to demand, or to be complaining about someone not being humble, to me, it's like it's a you problem. It's not a them problem. Now, put that with just women in general, because of patriarchy and the way our society is set up. Asking a woman to humble herself, why? 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 That's my first quote. Why? Now, insert that as a Black woman. Really, why? Oh, what am I too, loud, aggressive, animated, whatever? I don't know. It's for who? That's a you problem, not a me problem. That's my point. Anyway, she kind of talks about that in her way. But it is distracting trying to read through some of it. I'm not going to lie. And I felt like some things, like, yeah, an editor would have probably caught all this. And I don't know if she had an editor. I don't know. I'm very sensitive about this subject as someone who will be publishing work. And I'm like, oh, as an indie publisher, but I will have people reading through my stuff. I don't know. And I feel like, man, it's messed up that she didn't catch this, some of these things. Like I said, it is distracting. It, for me, maybe not for anybody else, but it was for me. The typos and stuff like that. And then like the informal way it's written is conversational, which is okay. Like I don't have a problem with that, but sometimes I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I don't know if it was a typo or if I'm not just, I don't know. So I look forward to, I will purchase what she's doing next. So I'm not like deterred. It's more of a format thing for me, but I am not deterred. And there's still, even in the midst of that, I love the different spells that she have in here, and I feel like these could be worked. Like I will work probably some of these myself. So yeah, not. It had some caveats, but I like it. I'm looking forward to see what else she comes up with for 2024. She's doing pre-orders now, by the way. So I will support and I will be getting whatever format, like I said, video or something like that. I'm looking forward to it. But the next book, which like I said, I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to pull this up. And I read this on my Kindle, which means I read it in super fast speed because I can read like super fast when it's on Kindle. I read this in 2 days. I read this in a day, in a few hours. My husband is an editor. Sometimes, you just don't see the mistakes after you proofread your work 100 times. Exactly. As someone who I started something, I'm many chapters in, for lack of better words. I'm more than halfway done this book, definitely. And I've decided for NaNoWriMo, National Writing Month, my goal has been to re-immerse myself into this story, which I've been doing. And I'm more than halfway through what I've written, and I'm seeing mistakes. But I have already read through this 2 other times before now. And it's just weird that I'm seeing mistakes, so I totally get it. Your brain fills in the right words. You know what you mean, so you see it, even though it's not really on that page. So that's very true. And that's awesome that your husband's an editor. If you ever did want to write anything, I'm not sure if you have ambitions to write anything, but you have somebody who may be able to help you. So that's awesome. But yeah, it's, I understand. You definitely need another set of eyes. I will have more than one person helping me, gratefully. Someone who is very academic, specifically as it relates to grammar. 2 people like that, actually. And I have some other like beta readers just for like continuity, making sure I'm not like introducing something and I forgot to circle back to it, that sort of stuff. So I'm got a couple different people to do these tasks for me. And I'm very grateful. And they genuinely want to help me succeed. So with that in mind, a paranormal cozy mystery series, which is one of my favorite genres. It's probably the top, and then paranormal romance is my second. But it depends on the story because I can switch that. Anyway, Solstice and Stitches. Okay. Kindle Unlimited. It's free if you have that, just so you know. So definitely something I'm going to just tell you right now. Serenity Island Witches. This is book 1. I'm about to start book 2. Can't wait to read it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, couple things. It's definitely the paranormal woman's fiction, meaning if you look at this, I'm trying to do it so you can see her a little up close. But if you know she's got a little bit of gray in her hair, I love that about her. Her name is Maris, the main character, and I don't know her exact origins, but I'm pretty sure she is maybe Hispanic. I'm not sure, just by like the image. I get that, or something. I'm not sure, but anyway, I like that. It's not a central focus, but like just the cover art and what I'm picking up in her name. That's what I'm thinking. But she is living in a small town, Serenity Island. Love a small town theme. So that's the backdrop. It's the Summer Solstice Festival. She is a quilter. She runs a quilt shop, and Solstice and Stitches. So she is the magical witch, a Stitch Witch. She's a Stitch Witch. I love that, by the way. This is so cozy, and it was good. And then there was the murder component because I like that. Um, I solved the murder immediately. There was a hint toward the beginning, quarter ways in. I already knew. I already knew. Now, I don't know if that's because I read so many of these, right? Because it could just be me. And then they was throwing me off, and I kept feeling like I feel like this is a set. Like I peeped the formula. I don't always do that. It is fun and cozy. I am still recommending it because even if you think you know who did it, and let's say you were right in the end, it was still satisfying and compelling to read through it and the relationships and dynamics. So she is a grown woman. She's in her 40s. On the other, like, her and her friends are like mid 40s, probably mid to later 40s. I know that because they didn't make a big fuss about it, but one of the characters that we're talking about, they was like, oh, so if, they're like doing the math, like, well, wait, how old is she now? And they was like, oh, well, she must be 40, turning 41. It was like, oh, so she's just a couple years younger than us. Her and her friends were talking as they're trying to solve a murder. So I love 40-plus-year-old women who have lives. The Maris has a teenage daughter. She's a widow. And she's raising, and her teenage daughter, this is not spoiler, this is pretty straightforward in the beginning, is coming into her witch powers as a teenager. And as with anything with puberty, there's no smooth transition. She's wreaking havoc. She's blowing things up. She's causing storms. She's volatile as a teenager because she's doesn't really have control over her emotions, and her emotions dictate her powers, her magic. So she doesn't even know all that she can do yet. Waking up in her, so she's learning that she might can have a little bit of psychic abilities, and she might be able to do with her mom and her grandmother and great grandmother can do with being a Stitch Witch. What is the writing like? The writing, first of all, I thought it was wonderful. Let me tell you something. This is a Kindle Unlimited book, and I love the flow. The pacing was on point. I think it's a relatively quick read. It's not a very long book. It's 23 chapters. They get to the point you feel like I really like how the author has immersed us into the culture of their town, but not like overly describing buildings and places and all that sort of stuff. It was just enough. I like setting, but I know when I write, I don't go heavy into "and the blue sky with traces of purple" and just lament, for 3 paragraphs about that. I don't respond well to that either. I will skim real quick. Like, I don't like stuff like that. So like just describing places, settings, and things like that. I loved how I got enough where I could see it. I felt like I was in a town. There were moments where there was more detail that at first I was like, why are you telling me so much about, oh, I pressed the elevator button, waiting in the elevator, and then this dialogue is happening. Okay, then the elevator doors open and they step in, dialogue. And like at first I was like, what? But let me tell you something. It was ingenious because as I was and I think about this stuff when I read. I think as just a reader consuming, and then as someone who's writing. And I'm like, but you know what? I liked it because the entire time that movie was playing in my head. I like a book where the movie is playing. I need to be in the world. Like I don't hear around me. I don't see anything else. I am in this world in this book. And this gave me that. I didn't know I would enjoy this book so much. I really, really liked it. I have a special place in my heart for this paranormal women's genre. It's romance, it's cozies or whatever, where they're not cliche. Well, they are. Like her husband died. She's a widow. That seems to be the trend. Either you get divorced or your husband died. Never has she just been single the whole time. I haven't found that book yet. But I do like how her friends who are kind of helping her solve it, they all run their own businesses. So we have she runs the quilt shop, and her other friend Sylvia, she runs the inn, the local inn, and the whole town is a bunch of magical people, so there's no discovering of magic. It already exists. That's the whole purpose of the town. So it's like a subculture within the main culture, general pop culture. So they have their social media outlets, but they have one specific for witches. So they called it Witchta. Yes, they're influenced. It's a solstice festival celebration. That's the backdrop of the book. There's a murder. I'm not going to get into who because that will take it away. There's a murder. There are some social media influencers from Witchta that are there. And everybody is a witch. That's the point. And that's why they're there covering it and doing events for their followers. But it's all within this witchcraft community because they are amongst us. There's other magical beings. They don't go much into it, but as a book one, they're introducing you to, hey, this is a place where there's more than one type of magical being. Vampires are present because they referenced that at least once about vampires being present. So, yeah. I also like in the world building where we're in a magical place, but magic doesn't solve all problems. For instance, there's a hospital that exists. There's a police station that exists because there's still the upholding of the law. However, at the police station, if you've been told to not leave town, the police chief will put a binding spell on you. That's and then if you leave, basically you won't be able to leave. There will be something that gets in your way if you try to leave. So there's that. And the hospital, although the doctor has magic abilities for healing, they admit there is a scene where they basically say, and it's not a long drawn out conversation, but basically some things will need to be addressed mundanely. Even with your health, not everything can be solved with magic. So it's not like fantasy as much, like more in fantasy books. So I do like that. It gives it a sense of realism that I guess I like that, where I can immerse myself easier. It doesn't feel like completely made up. It feels like, oh, well, that would exist. Like, I'm just in it now. Like, I believe you. I believe Wendy Wang. I believe that. Yes, you, because it feels closer to my world. Okay, do I cast spells? Yes. Am I a Reiki master? Sends healing energy? Yes. Healing myself included? Yes. If I feel a lump, or if I can't stop coughing, or if something else is happening, I will go to see a medical professional. And then we work from there. So that's how my brain works. So yes, I will use my natural remedies, but also I like to use it in conjunction with modern medicine as well. And I like how basically they're leaving room for that. And I love how the author, it just comes up situationally, meaning there's not a lot of long drawn out conversation about it. It's like, oh, now we're in the hospital. We're all powerful witches. We have all these different abilities. So there's just like an aside of, oh, well, yeah, but some things we still like to treat, as they call them normies. And I like that they address that. So the other thing that I loved about this book is that they had actual spells mentioned in the book. So that was fun reading that. I like that. Listen to this one. Listen to this. Flames of might, lose your fight. By water's power, vanquish your fright. No harm here, let all be clear. Be gone, flame, disappear. So mote it be. So um, this is when the daughter was talking to her mother. She had a really bad day, and her it's like right before the festival, big solstice festival is going to begin, and they're hanging up a banner. The mother has just worked on it. She runs it. She organizes the entire festival. Just so you know, the lady, the Stitch Witch, and her daughter, because she was upset because her mom, she's a teenager, and her mom just gave her some sage wisdom, but apparently that offended her. I saw it from the mom's perspective, but the young teenage girl got offended by the thing that her mom, to me, made sense. But anyway, and her feelings are so tied to her magic. So basically, the banner caught fire. So Maris, the main character, and her friend Willow, love these names, the coffee shop owner, they were all outside, and she ran over and they said this spell together, and I'm reading it again. Flames of might, lose your fight. By water's power, vanquish your fright. No harm here. Let all be clear. Be gone, flame. Disappear. So anyway, stuff like that. I like that. I love this, by the way. So yeah, there were others as well. I'm trying to make sure I get. It was something else. I bookmarked it. That's the my favorite thing about Kindle too, because I can bookmark things. So let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's another spell. So it's mother and daughter. Fast, at some point in the story, it's obvious that in order for, like with anything with a teenager, they have to know that they have to feel like empowered, like confident. So with wielding magic, I mean, that's all of us as well. So along with that, like her mom's doing and casting her spell, and her daughter is involved with this spell. But listen to the words: power of sight, vision bright, linked by thread, truth be shed. Reveal this charms, pass to my inner eye. Show me the owner, far and nigh. So this was a spell where they had a piece of string, which is a stitch, which this makes sense. They found a piece of string on an item. This is tied to figuring out what happened. There was like one crime and then there's the murder. So I'm going to give it away. But so in trying to find the non-murder crime, she finds something and she wanted to see who it belonged to, this item, which is going to be a theme later. Anyway. So it's a piece of stitch there, and they cast this. Did they cast a circle? No, she lays out altar cloth, and she used crystals to absorb any negative energy, and then she casts. So she does it like that. And she does the spell with her daughter. They repeat these words. Always, everything's repeated 3 times. And they always say, so mote it be afterwards. I love the thought of a Stitch Witch. It's what I'm kind. Oh, you too? You know what? I love the idea of a Stitch Witch as well. Dang it, if I can remember this woman's name. I want to get her book on, I think it's about sewing and witchcraft. She wrote this book. I think I have it on my shelf. I don't think I have it out anymore because I was referring to it. Lemons is something. It's basically like a hearth or cottage witch book. I cannot think of this name right now. Lemons and something. It's fairly recent. Anyway, I recently, she talks about Hestia, the goddess Hestia. Why can't I remember? Lemons and rosemary? I don't know. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Anyway, no. So she wrote a book about sewing and witchcraft. So I keep saying I'm going to get that. Because I like that as well. And I like doing different crafts, including sewing and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, anywho, I love this book. I'm trying to get to something else I bookmarked here. I love this book. I love the story. It was just what I needed to. Not that, like, something's wrong, but, like, I felt I've been having trouble with like lemons and rosemary. Okay, thank you. I been having trouble just like with time management, my understanding of time, and where my tasks fit in. I've been struggling with that. So this felt grounding to me. And the next book, too, I believe, has everything to do with come like this was a summer solstice. I think it's going to be like around like maybe something in autumn. So maybe Samhain. I don't know. If not Samhain, I think it's like Yule. Let me go back see what book two says. Hold on. I'm really looking for mistletoe and malicious intent. So yeah, I'm getting. I'm looking forward to that. Mistletoe and malicious intent. That's right up my alley. So I'm sure that's going to be fun. And I love how she keeps saying things like Maris. She says, I don't want to ever do this again. Like, I don't like this. Solving mysteries. She didn't enjoy that at all. So let me see. I'm trying to get to the other. Dang it, where is it? I bookmarked it and I looked at something else and lost my place. There we go. One more spell. So, here we go. It says, magic hidden, now be shown. Reveal what has been overthrown. Show us what you're hiding beneath the beneath the surface, now confiding. And again, they repeat the spell 3 times together. It was a group this time. And they looked for, this was to reveal any concealed magic. So they're on the case, they're witches now. So they're trying to solve, and they have different abilities, but they're trying to solve this murder. And they're in the room of the victim. And this is what they read. I think this could work though. Magic hidden, now be shown. Reveal what has been overthrown. Show us what you're hiding beneath the surface. Why can't I say it's beneath the surface, now I'm confiding. Like, that sounds good to work with. I love that. So yeah. I look for stuff like this. I will add this to my pop culture book of shadows. I keep that on my iPad, because I think stuff like this, like if you're looking for something and a spell, you need a spell, and you don't, it's a little out there. That's great for that. Like, you can thumb through your pop culture book of shadows and there'll be something from like a TV show. I'm watching Supernatural. I'm on season 1. I'm just about done season 1. Sam and Dean are interesting. Now, have I been exposed to that show? Yes, but I never really watched it from beginning to end. It was on, but I might have caught an episode because of like my daughter, but I never really watched the show. So I'm watching it, and I look forward to getting to the part where the Rowena and all that stuff, because I like, my memories are out of place with this, but I look forward to that. I'll probably talk about Supernatural because it's really good. That first season is like a Monster of the Week type thing format, but I like it. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about that, but I just want to tell y'all, Supernatural is happening. It's on Netflix, if you were wondering. Okay, so let's see. Was there anything else? Yeah. Other than I just wanted to talk about the binding spell. They never tell you what the chief of police does as a binding spell, just that they're powerful and that's it, which they would have to be. So the police are also magical people, you know. They can be witches, they could be something else because it's a magical community. But right now we're just dealing with witches. The town economy is because of tourists, and for every high holiday they have a festival, so that explains the town, because otherwise this doesn't make any sense. And normies do come through town, but mostly it's magical people, typically, you know, so they can live out in the open and be safe. You know, that's part of it, but they don't really get too much into the outside world versus their little world. Yeah. So a 10 out of 10 for me. The pacing was great. I felt like the author, it was a quick read. I don't know if it was intentionally, but I like that. That's up my alley. Like, I think sometimes some of these books, fiction wise, that I'm reading, well, honestly, some of the nonfiction too, I feel like you're trying to give me a lot of words, but it doesn't. Like, you have a word count in mind and you're trying to fill it up, but it's like a lot of like stuff I don't need. I don't need all this. Just get to it. I never felt like I didn't know who was talking in the dialogue. I never felt like I didn't understand that they switched scenes, or when there were visions being had in a dream by different characters. I knew it was a vision. There was never any confusion about what was happening and when a scene started, ended, or took a different direction. I like that. And it's interesting when you find something short, sweet, comfortable, cozy to read, and it's like on Kindle Unlimited, and so it was $0 if you're a Kindle Unlimited subscriber. And I'm almost like, dang, this book is like super good. I have read things that are supposed to be acclaimed, and it's not that I still enjoy the stories, but I found. Do you ever read novels? Reread novels. I have, but a long time has to go by. I just finished with my coven, Practical Magic. And boy, did I forget. I had forgotten the book. I watched the movie 20,000 times, so I know that. But because it has been so long since I read that book, well over a decade, well over, what, 2 decades? I don't know. It's been forever. I noticed I didn't know what was going to happen. So it was like rereading that book from the beginning. So yes, I can reread a novel, but a good amount of time has to go by in order for me to do that. When I was younger, I could do it. But now I'm like, people tend to write in series or at least a trilogy. So I'm more worried about getting to the next book. But here's another thing that I have done. I'll read the book, but I'll listen to the audiobook afterwards. It's a different immersion experience with the audiobook. So I'll read the book, physical book, or on Kindle. I'll read it, right? And then I'll do this with an entire series. The Sookie Stackhouse Mysteries, Charlene Harris, True Blood, the books. That was something, I reread those books at least twice, and I listened to the audio book of the whole series once. And I loved the narrator who was reading because she had this southern twang, and that's, in my mind, what Sookie would sound like, the Sookie in the book. And then A Discovery of Witches. I read those books, and then I listened to the audiobook, which with the accents, the British accents and the French accents, like that did something. It was an immersion experience. So was it the same story? Yes. But hearing it was the format, it just did something for me. So yes, is the short answer. But I find if you really like a book and you want to keep that going, like it really entranced you and you loved being in that world and you kind of don't want to give it up, read the book and do the audiobook. Or if you started with the audiobook, then read the physical book. That'll kind of give you the same feels, but the format is different. So it feels kind of new all over again. It's the best way I could explain it. But yeah, that's how I do it. But just sitting down reading the book again, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. Not very often. I listen to Legends and Latte recently on Audible. That was cozy. Ooh, that sounds cozy. I love, first of all, can we just talk about, I just know that anything I'm about to read over the next season, fall going into winter, it is going to be some cozy paranormal, like something really cozy. You sit down, you want a cup of tea, curl up, read this book, and get some entertainment out of it. But hopefully, I mean, I'm trying to pick good ones, but hopefully they're good books. But yeah, definitely some something you just want a nice cup of tea or a cup of coffee with. This was such an easy read, y'all. You're going to go through this. You're going to read it really quickly. The stories, the characters are people you kind of want to hear a little bit more from. I want to know more about Willow. She's the coffee shop owner. And apparently she's gay. And that's not... Okay. So one thing I noticed about some authors is trying to attract certain readers, and I feel like they do this thing where they're like pandering. It doesn't organically flow in the story. This was perfect. Actually, it was part of the murder, so it was important that this even come up because it was important. But they're all, come on, they're 40-plus-year-old women, so they don't talk about, well, at least the way they're written, they don't talk like how a young person would be talking about their sexuality. It's there. Everybody knows it's out in the open. So it's just part of the story, and it just keeps going, and we don't harp on it, and we don't, and it's not like a sideshow happening in the book or something. Like, see, look, we included the LGBTQ in this too. It doesn't feel like that. And I like that. Just like, again, I'm not really sure the ethnicity of this character, but I think she most likely is of Latin descent. I'm not sure. Maybe that'll come out in other books, but I kind of like that. I like, just tell me the story and let me fill in it with my perceptions and what I get from this. And I like stuff like that. I really like the book, though. I needed a good cozy murder mystery, paranormal murder mystery. That is my jam. I love stuff like that. So reading this made my heart, I don't know, it felt lighter. I just felt like, oh, this is what I needed. And I was reading this a lot, sitting like on my couch and the Christmas trees in front of me. So it just felt extra cozy. And I've read some of it and I was doing some other stuff, but I wanted to keep reading. So I used the voiceover command on my computer. And I pulled up the Kindle app on my iMac, and I just I had to find the right voice because that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, but I did find a voice that I could tolerate and just let it read to me. One thing I also noticed, an automated voice reading is hard for me to understand. Like, I hear the words, I'm listening to you, but I'm not internalizing the words. This is the problem with AI reading a book in like audio format. For some people, and I know I'm one of them, it doesn't connect. Like, if I do an audiobook, I need a human person reading this. It doesn't click if it's like a robotic type voice, and I can sense it. It's a computer. You're putting up your Christmas tree next week. Nice. You know what? My mom was like, oh, I'm talking to her. We always video call, and she's like, I'm looking at your background and I'm thinking I really need to put my tree up. I was like, yes, you do, lady. Put your tree up. What are you doing? I'm getting this from you. She just hasn't done it yet. But she does like a small tree. She stopped doing the big trees a while ago. And I get that. I don't know one day if I'll get to that. I like having a big tree, and my tree is fairly new. I bought a newer one, like, I think, 2 years ago. So no, she's getting put up regardless. I will move the entire house around to find a place to put this tree. And I also have cute little mini, well, if you've seen the video that I've recently posted with my little mini house tour of my winter solstice, Yule, Christmas decor, I'm showing that. What I did not show is even in the bathroom, I have decorations, the shower curtain, the towels. I didn't get too much into detail with that, but yeah. And then of course the outside is a gingerbread theme. I don't have any lights or anything like that. I just didn't want to get up on a ladder and hang lights. I think I'm getting to the point that I'll eventually hire somebody to come and do the lights for me. Like, that's something I might want to look into. Like, that's part of the Christmas budget, to like have somebody come out and just do it for me. That is the thing. I'm seeing these trucks. I'm seeing advertisements here in the area that I live in the East Valley of outside of Phoenix. I'm seeing that in various places I travel. I see like, oh, Christmas tree decorations, will install. But yeah, Solstice and Stitches by Wendy Wang. Definitely worth adding to your Witchy library. It's a fun, relatively quick read. 23 chapters of just like no muss, no fuss. You're entertained. You will like the characters. If you are a person who is not in their 20s and probably closer to your 40s, or if not in your 40s, you definitely will be able to empathize with just the habits, the way that the way the women interact. There's three women: Maris, Willow, and Sylvia. They're her two friends. And I love their interactions with each other. They're funny. One of the characters is like really blunt and to the point. The other's a little bit more sensitive. And I'm glad they didn't make the lesbian the blunt and to the point person. She's kind of more on the sensitive side. And I was like, thank you. So they didn't play into stereotypes with that. And the wine, the copious amounts of wine. And no one's shamed for enjoying wine and having 2 or 3 glasses. And they also will talk about how, like they'll be talking, having a conversation, having wine. And one of the witches, by the way, is a kitchen witch, so there's food involved. And then they're like, oh, we should just go talk to so-and-so. We should just go talk to him right now. And it's said immediately, after this person has been drinking 3 glasses of wine and this other person's had a glass or 2. And there's always one person who is like, yeah, I'll drive. And it was like, oh, I can do it. It's like, no, absolutely not. I'm the only one who hasn't had a glass of wine or something like that. Like, it's just said and then they just move on. But that's how it is, at least for the women I'm around. Like, oh, okay, like we're all aware of our own situation and our sisters, our friends, our good girlfriends. Anyway, I like that because it's not a thing where you tell it. It's just you're showing it, the author's showing it by just this dialogue. And it felt very real. See, I noticed stuff like that. That's why I can immerse myself in the story. But Solstice and Stitches, Wendy Wang, if you like a cozy mystery, if you're interested in a cozy mystery, this would be a good one. It felt inclusive without being shoved down my throat. It was a decent murder mystery, although I felt like I solved it immediately, but I read a lot of murder mysteries, and it's something I also study from a writing point of view, so let's just say it's probably good that I was able to get it, because that means I'm getting better at this writing thing a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I love the book, though. Get it. That's pretty much it. So next week, I know I'm going to do a book review. I'm a little perturbed because I ordered some things and they're going to be delayed, at least delayed by my expectations. I ordered something last week, so I expected to receive it this week, and apparently it's not being shipped until next week. But it's like Christmas related items. They're like planner stuff. And I kind of wanted to talk through that and kind of have content set up around that. I didn't think I was being crazy with my expectations of getting it this week. But apparently that's the situation. And the company, like a lot of people complained. And this company that I'm talking about, I belong in our private Facebook group. And they were like, we it's Black Friday, and they said like the right thing and everything, but like, you can't be selling holiday themed items. Most of us is planner related. You can't give that to me in December. I need it in November. Because for those of us who are using this content, using those items, like planners in general, like stuff ahead of time. Let's just start there. Even if you don't have YouTube or anything like that, I don't know a planner who wants, like, they want to know what they're doing, Christmas decor, decorations, like for their planners and stuff, before December. Most of us do. But if you plan on any of us featuring your product in on our channel, yeah, get it to me before December. So, yeah, yeah. Now, something that I don't talk about a lot on this channel, but is very important to me and to my practice because I get a lot of inspiration from this is I listen to K-pop, right? So if you follow me on TikTok, I actually just got my first set of albums. Golden by Jungkook. You probably heard some of this stuff being played on the radio. He was in Times Square, part of BTS. By the way, this is a BTS sweatshirt that I got one. Anyway, and outside of BTS, I also love Stray Kids. So like this is the mini album and it's each member is featured. And my daughter gifted me this. This is Han. He's one of the members of Stray Kids. And she gifted me this. So I actually have the larger album. This is the mini album. And it's really just a CD in here and a bunch of stickers and images and all that sort of stuff. So I won't get too much into this here, but just know that like she gifted me that and she gifted me these photo cards of some of the other members of Stray Kids, which I love. And I bring this up because I find so much joy, a freedom, community as well in the K-pop world in a way that is kind of like the witchcraft world too, but in something I try to provide here. I want you to feel like when you watch this, like you might learn something, or you just like, I'm basically saying something you've always been saying and it just feels good that somebody else is saying it too. And sharing different things that I'm into, maybe it inspires you or you have something as well and now you want to get back into it. But in the fandom for K-pop, it's definitely that like I already enjoy paper crafts. So like this is a sticker. So giving me these and this sort of stuff, I can create like a whole new book, scrapbook. I already have a photo album that I ordered and I'm setting up with my cards, and that's the whole thing. It's a whole thing with this world. If you had asked me this probably prior to 2020, I would look at you like, no, I don't think that's for me. No. Funny, a lot changed in 2020. I don't care what anybody say. That seems to be the marker where I feel like a lot of us had a major shift on everything. And now I am very much a woman in her very late 40s who is very into K-pop. And I'm a for real fan of multiple groups. And I'm collecting merch. And I enjoy it. And I'm probably going to learn Korean at some point, at least enough to understand what they're saying and know their words when they're singing these dang old songs. But a lot of them are doing English version. But if you're listening to like an interview on YouTube that was like shot in South Korea, and like they're talking conversationally, and like they all laugh. There's a joke that was said, and you're looking at them, looking at what's happening, and you're trying to read the captions. And then you finally catch on. It's like, oh yeah, that's funny. But you didn't get it. You didn't get it because you needed to understand in the language. Kind of like with English, a lot of times, we have phrasings and things like that where if you're not a fluent English speaker, you might not even realize there was a joke. Plus, there's pop culture relevance to a lot of jokes as well, that if you are not from here and you're not immersed in our culture, you might not get it, right? So I imagine it's similar with them. So yeah, but that's my jam. So anyway, those are my happy things. The other thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm still developing this, so I'm not in a position where I can really, really share it, but this is going to seem random. I purchased this Candyland game, right? So I'm working with my coven, but it's individual work that we're doing. And we're going to be activating our board soon, together as a collective. But I use that Candyland game as a road opener, a physical road opener for whatever it is that I'm working on. And I'm feeling so good about it. I want to talk about it. I'm not using it just yet, but I'm about to. And any really board game that follows like a path or something, you can do this. Now, I've reworked the board, so I've changed the face of the board. When I'm ready to show, I'll show it, because I need to put this to use and I need to see how it works. But yeah, I took a kid's game board, Simp Candyland. Another one might be Game of Life, but I'll circle back to that. You said so. Oh, that's up your street. Oh, okay, sounds exciting. Yeah, but I am taking. I've taken this board. I use stickers that I got from like Ink Goddess Creation, so they're Witchy stickers, and I re-imaged the different areas like Licorice Lagoon. You're using trying to use the board game for casting board. Exactly, same thing. Exactly. This has dual purposes. I could use this because I bought some dice, and I got one of my cousin sisters suggested because she bought them. The let me. This is the Hocus Pocus dice. I just have it in with the board. Let me hold one up so you can see. So like this is it, and it has like the eye on it, and a candle. If you can see. And then there's the different sisters on here as well. But they also have numbers on them. And I can use this to cast. I don't know if I'll use much of the imagery or not. Or I could just use from a color perspective. See, this is what I'm saying. I'm still deciding this for sure. Or I might use my own charms that I created. Instead of these. It just depends on maybe what I'm working and what I'm doing. But I might create a little legend with the numbers or something and see how I want to do it. But the purpose, of course, is to use one of the Candyland gingerbread men that would represent me. And I start in a place and I've reworked it. So the first place you start is like setting your intention, right? That makes sense, setting your intention. And there's detours to do shadow work or work on scripting or be in a place of gratitude. Like these are the different areas that I have on the board. So I could basically roll a dice or something across, and if it lands on there, then I know that's what I need to work on overall as the road opener spell to the larger spell of what it is that I'm trying to do. But I want to open the road up for the possibility. Then I get to cast spells because I'm a spells on spells on spells type of witch. So I like to do all these different spells. But anyway, yeah, I'll share more as I actually use it. I was going to try and create a Wizard of Oz casting board. Ooh, the yellow brick road. Oh, I like that. Now, another thing, one of my cousin sisters have already tried. We're going to eventually all start trying this too, is she has a chessboard. And you can use the chessboard in different types of ways. If you're trying to get rid of something, let's say it's something about yourself. Let's say you're constantly worrying. You're doubtful about a lot of things. You just kind of been having a negative outlook. You can make, I don't know a lot about chess. That's one of the reasons I didn't get it yet, but I'm going to learn for this purpose. It could be like energy. It could be a person. Let's say it's somebody. You're not necessarily wanting to hex them. You just want to stop them. Let's say it's a system, patriarchy, and you use the chessboard and, maybe you're the queen or something. And I don't know. And you just basically, play a game of chess with this enemy type thing. So, yeah, I'm not there yet. I didn't purchase it. And I still need to brush up on understanding chess, right up there with speaking Korean. They're all in the things that I would like to go ahead and do. I need to put this in my manifesting book. Checkmate them. Yes, that's what I need to do. I need to put this. I got to write down, learn Korean, and then learn chess. And who knows what else. Oh, and learn to start. I don't know if I would like to make a quilt. Don't get me wrong. I'm a quilt girly because I have a nice winter themed quilt on my bed right now, and I admire the details store bought. But I definitely would love to get back into sewing. Even I don't clothes, yes, would be awesome. But if it's just like items for around the home, whether it's just like a pair of curtains, which is not hard to do, right? Or a blanket or something like that. You're trying to learn Japanese. My daughter did learn Japanese as part of our homeschool curriculum. I got her Rosetta Stone, the student edition, because there's two different, at the time there was two different types. You can have one for students because it had lessons and then me as the proctor, the teacher or whatever. I had something to guide her with, but yeah, um, she speaks a little bit. But that's something you have to be in tune with. The irony about all of this is, so this person learns Japanese at home, goes to college in Miami, where if you're roaming about outside the campus, Spanish might be more advantageous, but that's not the conversation. But then she gets really into like Korean pop culture, and even though she was part of a Japanese club there, she became like the vice president of a Japanese club. But she doesn't even speak Japanese now. If I take her to a place where people are speaking Japanese, like she'd have to really focus because it's been so long that I think she's practiced. I've been making rag dolls. You can tailor them for magical purposes. Yes. Also, with sewing, one of the good things is if you do let's say, okay, this is where my brain goes. If I'm doing like a rag doll or something like that, which I can sew and I can put herbs and a specific type of stuffing that might include petitions and all that sort of stuff, right? Awesome. Then on top of that, where I'm thinking, well, I can sew clothing employing more color magic. Maybe there's a certain style. So if I'm looking like if it's someone in a formal attire or something, and I'm trying to work with them or for somebody else, you get what I'm saying? Like I put basically a little mini suit, or if it's to represent something else, I can basically make a little outfit. So I have a sewing machine right here next to me on this floor and it's got dust on top of it. And I really need to get a cover for this thing. But I'm ready to pull it out because I could honestly sit it right up here, reconfigure some computers and stuff like that out the way. But I could put it right here on this desk and I could get to sewing. And I like sewing. So it's not like crazy. It's not, I used to do, when I was a teenager, I think I told this before, I was sewing, like I would get the patterns and I believe you can sew if you can follow directions. I also had like a sewing class. I think it was in middle school. Yeah, no, it was in middle school. They taught us like I'm trying to remember if it was middle school. Home economics. I know that's not like a thing. I don't think they do that anymore. They need to bring that back because a couple things I left from the public school with. Home economics, I learned how to sew. I learned how to do a place setting. I learned how to follow a recipe. I also had wood shop and I made my mom a cutting board, which I think she still has to this day. I got to work all the machines and all that sort of stuff. I will forever be grateful for that. Like having that skill, like I know how to do those things. I've been making rag dolls. You can tell it. Oh, I just read that. I don't know why. It made it look like that popped up again. Oh, well. But yeah, I think that is why a lot of my hobbies are kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and my interest, because I got to be exposed to that sort of stuff. I feel bad for some of the kids now. I don't think they get that. Like I had music. It was like a summer camp thing. Public schools, and I remember like they taught us to read music, still can't actually read music. That felt foreign and hard for my brain. Like my friend, I remember she was in the class with me and she immediately got it and she understood. And I was like, what are y'all understanding that I didn't? Like, it bothered me that I could not read music. it just seemed like a weird foreign language, and none of this is making sense. Probably today, if somebody came to me, I might be able to understand. Then I actually had private one-on-one lessons to read music and to learn how to play a piano. And I also didn't receive that. Listen, if your kid doesn't want to do something, if you've exposed them to it, but they still don't want to do it, believe them. My number one reason, and I would tell my mom this after the fact, my number one reason for wanting to continue to go to my piano lessons, and it was family he worked at a store that sold pianos, and they also offer lessons, and my mom was able to like get a discount and stuff like that. But like I come from a lot of my people, a lot of them are in church, so like they know how to play the organ and all that stuff in church, so music is part of it. I don't have the voice a lot of the some people in my family have, but they have a voice and they sing. So, let's try to play a musical instrument. I've tried three play instruments in my lifetime. The flute, I thought I didn't have enough breath because I kept blowing and nothing would happen. And a teacher said, maybe we can find something better for you. It just was a disaster. I got lightheaded. I was blowing so much. And nothing was, I wasn't making any sound. So I don't know. Clarinet also, again, not, and then the piano. I was going to my mom would drop me off. It was in a mall, and there was across the street a hot dog place. And I really wanted that hot dog because I could get it with sauerkraut, relish, and mustard, right? I couldn't always have that. We could have hot dogs at home, but my mom didn't get all the fixins. They had different fixins. So for me as a kid, that was exciting. And I was guaranteed to be able to have one after each lesson. It was the only reason why I went. Also, when I was a kid, the number one reason, like when I started getting older as a kid, I didn't feel like getting up on a Sunday morning to go to church with my mom. But if I went, we got to go to Ponderosa, which is a steakhouse restaurant. And they were really like Sizzler. They were kind of cheaper. The advantage of going to church is inevitably we would go get lunch. And I really wanted to go there because they had a pudding dessert. And food is really a big part of a lot of my stories on motivation for doing things. And I'm terribly afraid I might have raised my children to be the same way. I learned early on, I was just talking about this, that if you tell my children, well, when they were younger, if you said, oh, I have a fun treat for you. Ooh, come on, I got a treat for you. Their mind thinks it's food. If you hand them like an eraser or some colored stationery or a toy, they will be disappointed because it was like, you said a treat. A treat is something I'm going to eat. Like in their mind, that's what they think. So they are motivated by treats. Their mom. Oh gosh. Oh, I made people like this. Hey, I could have worse characteristics to pass on. All right, so I'm gonna go. So again, just to recap, if it was edited more, I think this would be better. It's a workbook, which I realize that now reading the back, but I look forward to the next format. I'm rocking with her. I'm going to support her. I just want to see what she does with the next format. And then the other book here, Solstice and Stitches, a must read. I strongly suggest around this time of year, this is kind of a good book. Even though I talk about the summer solstice, read this so we can get to book 2 with me and we can talk about it. So I'll be reading book 2 probably today, tonight, because it's a really good book. I anticipate book 2 will be a fun story as well. And if I guess the killer in the next one, then I don't know. I still like the book though. I would still just keep reading. I don't care. I'll just feel like I'm really smart. All right, but I am done. I'm going to go and go on with the rest of my day, get some writing, and I think I'm going to get some lunch. And I need to definitely get back into my own story. Honestly, reading Solstice and Stitches had me thinking about my book, had me thinking about my characters, and like making sure that I'm keeping the right kind of pace as well. A good amount has been written, but you know what I mean? Like, it's making me think about that sort of stuff, so I'm glad. So I like that. That's a good sign. Oh, thank you. Have a good day too. Thanks for checking in with me today, Gemstones. All right, I'm done. All right, bye.